Welcome to Who Put This On, Season 5, Episode 43, where we watch Assembly Required, Season 1, Episode 2. I'm Chris Lorenz.
Noah Singer.
Robert Kitts.
Tim the Tool Max Taylor.
If this is your first time listening, we watch a different reality show each week, discuss it, rate it in its minute detail. Rob, what show do we watch this week?
Assembly Required reunites Tim Allen with Richard Karn in this new competition series that spotlights the best and brightest builders from across the country at their home workshops as they compete to breathe new life into everyday household items in desperate need of fixing. This new series will push each contestant to their limits while testing their ability and ingenuity to not only rebuild it, but to build it better. In each episode, Allen and Karn will also dive to the unique history about these items to celebrate the men and women who crafted them and the techniques used. That's Assembly Required on the History Channel.
Oh, it's a very historical show, guys. It's all about the history.
I feel like half that show description was not accurate.
Yeah, I was as the people on the audio couldn't see, or I was raising my eyebrow at some point. It was like they definitely didn't discuss any barbecue techniques at all. So the episode we watched was the barbecue one, second episode. So if you watched episode 1, you got to come back after you watch episode 2. So they do this whole barbecue challenge where they do challenge 1 with 3 people, which we'll get to the 3 people. That challenge was to make a flamethrower. I forget what they called it.
It was
Blowtorch.
a specific thing, though. It was like a broiling thing.
Brazier. They called it a brazier.
Yeah.
Actually, I might have that written down somewhere. And the top 2 that boil water fastest with their flamethrower move on to the second challenge. The second challenge was to make a moving barbecue, which they were given parts for both of these challenges. And then the winner of the last challenge, based on some arbitrary bullshit details, wins $5,000 via iFixit. iFixit, the place where you get tools to fix your phone. iFixit should send us money because I'm saying iFixit a lot.
They don't just get $5,000. They get an iFixit toolkit.
Oh,
Don't
the best toolkit you can buy.
Wow,
Like,
I
if
love
you're
this
gonna
one
buy a
because it shows
toolkit,
me all the tools.
you need the iFixit toolkit.
I fix it where you fix it.
That back to our regular scheduled podcast. Yeah. So I think that in order to start talking about this show at all, we got to talk about the hosts here. We have Home Improvement. The stars are back. Tim Allen and Richard Arn. The guy, both people from Home Improvement. And, I don't really know what Richard Arn has been doing, but Tim Allen.
Karn with a K. There's a K at the start.
Arn?
I've definitely seen him and stuff. I just have no idea what.
I don't really have anything to say about him. I liked him in Home Improvement. He was good as a foil to Tim Allen.
His recent IMDb is definitely in rough shape. The other thing, when I think of him, I think of 2 things. He was in Home Improvement, and for a while he was the host of Family Feud. But he's in that era between the older hosts and the Steve Harvey era where they just were cycling through different hosts every year, and he was one of them.
Yeah, the same category as that Seinfeld.
Mr. Peterman. Mr. Peterman was the host of Family Feud for a while. Yeah. There was Louis Anderson. There were a couple other people.
Yeah, none of those really stand out.
His most recent claim to fame was being reported that he died. And him having to correct he did not die.
Clearly, he's on the show.
What if it was a hologram on the show? What if he was not actually there?
Oh, that would be sad. That would be so sad. So then we got to get to the other host we got here. Tim Allen, the star of 2 somewhat popular sitcoms, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, Home Improvement was super popular.
No, Home Improvement, that's not a question.
That's not a question.
The question is Last Man Standing, which is his current sitcom, which is currently ending, which I have a lot of problems with Last Man Standing. And Tim Allen as a person in the year of 2020, 2021, just in terms of
Good save, Chris. Good save.
his hyper masculinity, super Republican kind of macho values, like that he like actually like condones and like seeps through him. Like it's just like he can't not say anything like it. That's just like I guess who he is, and it just rubs me the wrong way.
It's not a good look.
My biggest issue was like I watched a bit of his Last Man Standing for a while, and they'd make jokes about like something was bad. It was like just like Obamacare, and like that was the joke. And I was like, what's the joke? Like, why is Obamacare bad? Can you explain it to me? What like you if you're this such a joke, that's just shitty. Like that's just not funny. And I don't get it. He was involved in that whole era of shitting on Obamacare for no reason. And that just kind of permeates through his like life, I guess, at this point. I'm sure that there's other things we could talk about a couple more just in this episode that I noticed. But does anyone else have anything else they want to say about Tim Allen?
Yes, I have 2 complaints about Tim Allen. First off, that's not his name. His name is Tim Allen Dick.
Great name.
However, you might say, well, Allen's his middle name. No, it's not. His middle name is Alan.
Oh, really? I knew
Yeah, so he's
I knew it was Tim Allen Dick. I didn't know he changed the spelling of Allen.
It's Tim Allen.
Oh, well, there you go. Anyone else have any comments about Tim Allen? That it's in audio form, so it's a lot harder for him to find you or future.
I mean, it's not just 2020.
No.
Like he was a notable Trumpy, right from the 2016 election. Like I don't know if that makes him a bad person.
No, he's a bad person.
But he definitely is pro-Trump.
Like you can make the argument being pro-Trump by itself doesn't make you a bad person. He's said enough things that he is a bad person. This is just a fact at this point. Outside of his show or anything like that, just like in real life, I think we just like we'll talk about like upgrades, downgrades. Like it is crazy just like how big he was in the 90s. Like he was just in like TV shows, movies, all kinds of stuff. Like this is Buzz Lightyear, and it's just like it's kind of sad. He's just now he's just such a sort of horrible human being overall. And like the way they do this show, you could argue he's doing a bit. He's doing a bit of being kind of this older school, he's cracking jokes at Richard Karn. He's cracking jokes as Alice or April. I don't remember the name that we'll get to.
April.
But it's also April. Thank you. But it's also like, we know that's just who he is in real life. So it's just a bit doesn't really work.
Yeah. So the one statement that I think he made in this that just like makes him seem like more of an asshole person to me in this particular episode was like they were talking about like I forget exactly what the context was, but they were trying to figure out who's like a manlier man or something. And Tim was like, why don't they burn each other's chests until someone screams, see what kind of man they really are? Like, what does that in any way have to do with how manly you are? Like, in terms of how much pain how much burn you could take? Like, what world are we in? Like, what kind of joke is that?
It's not just how much burn you can take, Chris. How much burn can you inflict on someone else? That's the real measure of a man. USA.
Just like I don't understand what that statement is about. Like it's just terrible masculinity comments that he says throughout this episode, and that was the more overt ones. Like I'm sure there's more subtle ones in here that I didn't get.
I mean, that was a lot of his comedy routines, right? It's like growing up in that culture, and then like talk. And he's very openly talking about it too. But
And that's the thing. Like you could argue that he and Richard Karn are just doing throwbacks to kind of their home improvement personas. And then if I believed it was just a bit, I would actually be like, oh, I kind of get what they're going for. It's I can kind of buy it, but just like he's proven it's not a bit for him, and so I don't buy that part of it.
Yeah, exactly. He's not acting. Like, it's who he is. Like, that's his character.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Rob. If this was like, hey, I'm gonna be Tim Allen from the 1990s, and I'm gonna like be that guy.
I'm gonna be Tim Taylor.
Tim Taylor from Home Improvement. Then like, yeah, great, I get it. But he's not. He's just playing. He's like himself, which is not great. I'm sure we'll continue talking about Tim Allen, but let's get into the show a bit. Let's talk about the 3 contestants in the first challenge we got. We got Nemo from California. We got Austin.
Nemo.
What was that?
Why would you name your kid Nemo?
You like that movie?
The movie wasn't out when they named him, Max. It's different now.
I got Austin. He's from Georgia. And we got Rupert from Virginia. So like each of these were like kind of maker individuals. So like Nemo, he was more of like a sculpturist, it seemed. Like he would take broken things or non-broken things and turn them into like kind of a weird work of art where like he like took it was interesting.
Yeah.
But it did not seem like it was the kind of things that they were looking for in this kind of show, which we'll get into, I guess. I mean, like he makes this brazier, is that called it?
Brazier. Yeah.
That's a bra. You're talking about a brazier.
A brazier? We're talking about bras. He made a bra, didn't really hold them up very well.
I say man's ear.
And it took him so they had 90 minutes to do it. And I just don't think he knew what he was doing long enough. And he didn't have time to fine tune it or really have any idea. And it just wasn't nearly as good as everyone else's flamethrower. And I think it's pretty obvious because by the way, the like kind of maker he wasn't like a functional maker. He was just like a make things I think look cool maker.
Yeah.
They did do a good job, I thought. Like, it's not getting into history, but getting into the like, blue flame versus orange flame and how oxygen flow leads to that. Like, there was some actual like, here's a little of the science, what's going on stuff that I appreciated. And like, it was true. Like, this guy's like you say, this giant orange flame coming out and actually looked pretty impressive. And like they've been like, remember, orange flame's probably not as strong, and that's why it, it's not doing as well. So I give them credit for that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Definitely. It was also interesting while he turned his flamethrower on, they were just burning they had this whole beaker set up, and he was just like, things that were holding the beaker were burning. Because the whole thing was in flames. You couldn't even see the beaker because like there was not enough oxygen for the amount of propane he was igniting at once. As they went over in the show, really. So I give them kudos for that too. Then we can talk about Austin. He's a millennial. He wants to prove the young people have work ethic and can be makers too.
What a shtick.
Are millennials considered the young ones now? I thought we were old now. Like
we're lost generation 2 now.
What world are we?
Well, it's just a bit to say blame the young millennials for everything, Chris. So if you're on a Tim Allen show, you got to hate on the millennials, even if it doesn't actually make sense.
What's the ones under millennials now? What are we calling them?
Zoomers.
Doomers?
No, Zoomers.
Zoomers. Okay.
Yeah. But is that like a real thing people say? Like
no, Gen Z.
Gen Z.
I'm sure they'll have a better name at some point. COVIDers, maybe. I don't know.
Providers.
I couldn't get a sense of what kind of maker he was, but he seemed to do a pretty good job at this. Like, Flamethrower. He did an okay job at the flamethrower bit, I thought.
We got to talk about the job he does with the flamethrower at some point.
Oh, well, let's talk about it now. Let's just go through what he does for this flamethrower, where he lights it up, and like he uses some screw, and like the screw fails, and like the flame just backflows onto him and into the propane, kind of to the propane tank itself, and like he burns the shit out of him on his arm or whatever. It was really funny.
Well, like he basically, like for a second, he's just like lit on fire. Now he didn't actually catch fire, and it was just like the gas around him or something, and so he turned out to be okay. But like there's like if you do the slow mo, there's this shot where he's just like engulfed in flame, and it's pretty wild.
Probably the highlight of the show, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah.
Seeing him like and his like beaker setup at the end, he had a lot of flames too. When I say flamethrower, these two people have made the flamethrowers. Like if you went and looked up the photos of that like Elon Musk quote unquote flamethrower he sold, like it looked exactly like this. It's just like a propane torch, and they were just boiling water with it. And then we can go to not Rupert, Ruben, as you've corrected me, and I have him further on the notes Ruben, but for some reason he got written down as Rupert. I blame autocorrect. This guy's like a master tinkerer. He tinkers with everything. He's a master welder. He's just super good at like making stuff, it seems. So he makes this I wouldn't call his a flamethrower. His is a proper brazier, and it works super well. It's super quick. It actually boils the water in a very reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, his most impressive thing was he didn't have any orange flame. It was like straight blue, only blue.
Like his seemed like, you know, when you have the science class Bunsen burners and there's like this little blue flame coming out to heat something up, like that's what he had to heat the water, and it was very efficient. So
yeah, he it seems like, oh, you want me to make this? Okay. And he goes and makes it. He didn't have to look anything up. He knew exactly what he needed to do, and he did it. Whereas like the other two people were like, oh, what? Like I would do the same thing. I'm like, you tell me to do that in give me like a day. And so I can watch a lot of YouTube videos.
You think you can do that in a day?
If I had a shop, maybe. Like, I just don't know. I don't have a shop. But, like, I don't know. Seems like I can watch enough YouTube videos to figure it out.
Oh, man. I feel like there's a challenge here, Chris.
Me versus you?
Oh, no. I would need a lot of time to do this well and not kill myself. A day would be an impressive.
It didn't seem that like complicated. No,
they did not make it seem that complicated. Yes.
All right. Well, agree to disagree. I
kind of no. I mean, it is seen pretty straightforward. Right? You have your propane tank. You have a line out. You have something that can like make the air more or less, and you have something that it comes out of. Right, like.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make like a Ducati here. I'm just you know, I think that this would be like, I don't know how ambitious this would be for like a first project, but like I don't know how much welding you actually need to do, because there's welding involved in it. Then like clearly I don't think I could do that. That would be really hard to do. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let's get back to Ruben. Also had like a Thor hammer in his like one of his like most proud moment things that he's made, which he did like a cool thing where he like pulled it in from like outside the camera and it looked cool. So I wanted to, that's cool. Minor minutia.
Shout out to Ruben and his hammer.
Classic Ruben. So we got Ruben and Austin make it to the second challenge. And the second challenge is this like, so one thing that we didn't bring up is that they're given all these like parts and stuff to do this. So they're given a bunch of bicycle parts and like an oil, like empty oil tank or oil, whatever you want to call it. And to make
barrel,
that's the word I'm looking for. To make a moving barbecue grill using propane. So it's not really clear at the beginning or even really at the end how these things are going to be critiqued and to see who wins, which I think would really help the show a bit, like in terms of how much like what I'm rooting for. But so we got Austin. He takes like a grill, or not a grill. He takes a motor, puts it on like a bicycle front and like two small wheels in the back, and puts a grill on the back. So he's like, you know, you don't actually have to pedal anything to move. So that was cool. He uses it. There's not much more about it. Go look it up if you want to see what it looks like. But he had a Awuga horn. Seemed like it was pretty cool to like actually bike around in. I don't know how street legal that thing is.
I don't think it's legal to have a grill on your vehicle.
What do you mean? There's food trucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's vehicles that have bigger legal problems, I feel.
But like so we'll talk about Rubens, which was like he made like a tricycle out of his two bicycles where like the two wheels were in the front and there's a wheel in the back, and he put the grill in the front, but it was a regular bicycle. So like technically I feel like that would be street legal because it's not an actual motor.
Agreed. That would be street legal.
Whereas like once you start putting a motor on things, like then it's like becomes somewhat of an issue. Not that it really matters because that wasn't part of the stipulations of the challenge as far as we're aware. Yeah, and which one?
Cool.
Rubens, like the thing that was cool about Rubens was that everything was like custom. He like custom welded his grill together, and he like made a whole like looked like a grill. Whereas like Austin's, it just kind of looked like he put like one propane like flame thing coming up, and it just looked kind of janky. Whereas like Rubens, like you saw that in a story, like, oh yeah, that's a grill that you would buy. And everything looked very good.
And also had the cooler attachment on the side.
That's true. The cooler attachment. Cool. No Awuga horn though, Rob.
No Awuga horn. That is true.
So Rob, which one do you think was better?
I think at the end Rubens was better, although there were definitely things I liked about Austin's. Like, you know, Tim and Richard were saying, but it's such a hard challenge, such a hard decision. I don't know, but I thought it was actually very legit. Of like, yeah, they were both pretty good.
Yeah, I think that like some pluses for Austin's was that the steering looked good, the motor, like just like the motor train is like his big plus, like in terms of movement. Like he really made it move well. Whereas like
I think the functionality of it is, you know, off the charts in comparison.
Well, I'm just not sure how good that grill is. Like they didn't actually test whether you could grill on these things.
It's funny. I liked how objective the test was for the first one, and they completely threw that out with the second challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little
like
weird.
They should have, you know, tested the temperature in there or something.
Noah, which one do you think was better? Which one do you think would have won? Should have won.
I agree with Ruben. Just the cleverness of the like chassis shaped grill and custom making it, as well as like the coolers in the back. I really like it, but it's so tough because like Austin did a great job, right? But I think just it's a bit more clever how Ruben went about the execution.
Max, what about you?
I mean, I kind of already talked about it.
So you're gonna go with Ruben as well?
Oh, sorry. No, if I have to choose one, I'm on Team Austin.
You're on Team Austin? Okay. I think I'm on Team Ruben. I think that grill is going to work way better than Austin's grill. I'm going to go based on grill functionality here. Although the movability, Austin obviously wins. But the functionality of a movable grill really needs to be on the grill. And the show didn't give me a good handle on which grill was better. Other than I don't want Richard to be grilling my stuff because he loses a hamburger. You lose a fucking hamburger in a grill. What's wrong with it?
They-
Actually, I was
they-
wondering if that was going to go down the like there's something wrong with how he set up his grill, and like the grill was bad. But then it just became like Richard's just an idiot. Like,
yeah.
but Chris, I do want to get as I believe you are the people on today. You are the expert griller here. So like, I did want your take on like as a griller, what did you like? What did you not like?
Yeah, I mean, as I can tell you, Austin's grill doesn't look very good, like in terms of as a grill.
Mm.
Whereas like Ruben's looked good, but obviously we didn't get to see the grill, so like that long. We saw like a 10-second shot of the grill, so like
We should have seen Tim Allen eating a burger cooked off that grill to be like,
For
are
sure.
you worried you get salmonella, or are you comfortable with this grill?
yeah, that's definitely a critique of like this. And then we find out that Ruben wins. I think that's the consensus here. That was a consensus there, and that was the end of the episode. That's like kind of there's a lot of little things we can talk about, which I guess we should. But
Should we talk about April?
yeah, so we have to talk about
Really interesting.
April, which also brings us to these interstitial kind of things. So like all these things are teed up via Tim Allen and Richard Karn, and they're like trying to make quips and trying to be funny and like really padding the show with garbage, to be honest. But one of the actual interesting things is when they bring in April, which is like a quote unquote expert, which I don't know if she's like an expert every episode.
I
But
think she is. The History Channel channel page, the History Channel website has an assembly required channel page, which features a bio for each of the hosts and each contestant, which is kind of interesting. But April is definitely the resident expert. Like, she is a DIYer, self-made DIYer, which is actually pretty impressive. Like, she just started teaching us stuff later in life. So yeah, she seems very legit.
And the photo on the main page is all three of them are there. So like she's
Okay.
clearly like part of the show package.
well, we find out from April that the blue flame is good, and that she sabotaged the second competition by like breaking the valves in the bike wheels so that they wouldn't hold air for very long. And that seemed like it was pretty obvious that that's what happens. When your tire goes flat, you're like, oh, well, maybe there's something wrong with the valve. And there was, but they both fixed it and they both knew what it was. I wouldn't have known. I would have just gotten a new tube, as I usually do when I'm on my bike. So like, good on
I
them.
was shocked how quickly both of them figured out that it was a inner piece in like the bike valve.
Noah, there's like one part on that whole thing. There's like there's like in a bike when you get a tube, there's a spout, and then there's like this O-ring thing, this like little piece that holds the air out, and then there's like usually a cap. So like there's not a whole lot in terms of, okay, let me check this piece. Oh, if it's not that piece, then there's a hole somewhere. And all four of them have a hole. Then like, okay, well, they just put holes in our tires for no reason. So like it's I don't think it's as shocking to like, oh, that they look there first and they're like, oh, that's a problem. It's more like there's not that many parts on that for there to really, sneak you by.
But also, Ruben, the video of showing Ruben figuring it out was on day 3. We don't know how long it took Ruben to figure it out. Like, they edited it in a way that he like, oh, once he realized the tire was flat, he figured it out pretty quick. But it might have taken him a while. We don't really
It's
know.
true. I think that what took Ruben a while is because he filled it with air, and then the next day he comes back and is like, oh, it's flat again. Whereas like if he waited till the last day or something to test, and then like it kept going flat on him, then he would never have found out and would have lost, I guess. I don't know. Be tough to drive on a flat tire, I guess. What else do we need to say about April?
Her blog is wilkerdues.com. And she self-made. Yeah, pretty impressive.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Noah. WilkerDudes.com. We the best blog out there on the internet to find all your DIY tips. Follow her on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, blah 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 blah.
And Patreon.
Send me the monies.
One thing I thought was funny with April was when they bring her over to explain shit to the tires. Like, so I don't think we actually said like, Tim Allen and Richard Karn never see these people. Like, these people are in their own home workshops, and they're talking over Zoom on the TV. And there's some production schedule things to get into with that, but we'll say that for later. So at one point they call her over and she comes to the TV show. Oh, perfect. They're working on that right now. Well, let me explain it to you. And it's like such a fake force, like, they just happen to be doing the thing right now. When you call me over to talk about the thing, ha ha. And it's like, come on, dude, you didn't need to do that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, all of the April sort of intros feel a bit forced.
I mean, all of the like Zoom stuff feels very terrible. Like, I was gonna get into it, but like all these interstitials that like when we're not focusing on the build, just like not good. It's just like Tim Allen just making stupid jokes that like don't work. They don't really fit the theme of making anything. They like, he doesn't understand what's going on, and it's just like, I just want him off the show. I can't stand him.
So the part of the thing with the April thing for me is it feels like she's trying to fulfill we're the History Channel. This has to be educational. Let's have someone that actually knows what's going on to talk about it. Except it's not about history, which is like, wait, I thought you were supposed to see the show description is telling me I'm learning about history, but like that doesn't happen. But like, it feels like they're trying to be like, well, there should be something actually useful about the show. And Tim Allen, Richard Karn aren't going to teach you shit. So let's bring in someone who kind of knows what's going on, to fulfill that History Channel need on here.
Just cut them both out and just have April talk about all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, I always used to think that Richard Karn was actually a woodworker. Like, I thought he wasn't really an actor, and then like Tim Allen kind of wanted him to not like overly act out full time on Home Improvement, but I've learned he is actually an actor.
That's only something like a kid could believe. Like this person on this 8-season sitcom is not an actor.
Yeah, no, for sure.
He's just Joe Schmo off the street.
He's just Al. It wasn't even a name for the show. That's just his name. He's Al.
Yeah, and it's what Tim Allen wanted to do.
Not to the fact that if you just picked him off the street and was on the show for 7 seasons or however long that show is on for, you'd be an actor at that point. Like,
at that point.
Like, it's not like there aren't scripts. It's not like an unscripted thing.
Fun fact about Richard Karn. Richard Karn also is not his full name. His
Richard
name,
Allen Karn.
Richard Karn Dick.
Richard Karn Wilson.
Oh,
I mean, that's close.
Yeah, not far. And he's from Seattle. He went to high school by Green Lake, and he went to University of Washington.
Oh, nice.
Is he related to Russell Wilson?
It seems so. Yeah.
All Wilsons are related.
Sorry, hold on. This guy's name is Dick Wilson?
You got it.
Wow.
Dick and Dub.
Are we good to go to questions? Like, do we have any other?
Do we want to talk about the Forge and Fire comparisons now, or is that part of the questions?
It's part of the questions. What's the show's?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, we'll talk about there.
So who's the worst human being? I think we have probably unanimous on this one. Although he's not. Yeah, and he's terrible in this episode too. So
I mean, like no one in the show, if you just judge based on the show, is super terrible. But Tim Allen's, jokes of like, and trying to be like the overmasculine, like. If you believe it's a shtick, he's still trying to be a shtick of being kind of a jerky kind of person in the show. So like even giving him all the benefit of the doubt he doesn't deserve, he's still the worst person on the show.
I mean, he still made hyper masculine statements that like, would fit into like somebody's hyper masculinity that like is toxic to like I think is toxic. So I still
Yes.
think he's the worst human being on this particular episode.
Correct.
So like even ignoring all this other bullshit that he's like involved with, which obviously makes him the worst. But like,
Yes.
is this the apex downgrade for the hosts? This has to be a downgrade, right, for Tim Allen and Richard Karn. But is it an apex or downgrade for April?
Might be the apex for April.
I don't know. Maybe she's a rising star. Maybe she has a long career ahead of her.
Is her apex
Oh.
to date?
It's not
Yeah.
obviously we're not talking about future apex. I
Richard
think
Karn, though, like, is this his apex for the last decade?
last
Oh,
like
yeah.
20 years. Like when was Tim
No,
Allen? Like
20 years? Like, he was on Family Feud. That's the apex from the last 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at his credits.
Like he's got he's got a peak, right, of Home Improvement.
Home Improvement is the apex for Richard Karn. I guess Tim Allen, you could be like Home Improvement versus Santa Claus versus Toy Story. Like, he's got some questions, but it's definitely a long time ago, and it's not this.
Yeah.
He
and then
was on Pen 15. He has 5 episodes on that show. It's supposed to be a good show. So
All right, downgrade then. Confirmed.
Confirmed downgrade. I think it's definitely I think it would be an upgrade for April.
Yeah,
In terms of like
definitely.
being
Yeah.
internet personality to being, pseudo host on this reality show.
Totally. Yeah.
I get-
yeah.
What's the most baffling or cringeworthy moment? I think Tim Allen, we didn't talk about it, but Tim Allen rides the one bike and like crashes it over. That was pretty cringy. I was like, I hope you didn't break anything, which he might have. Who knows?
Does the guy lighting himself on fire count as cringeworthy?
I think so.
I'll say baffling for me is Nemo's water didn't boil. Like, I would have thought that still the flame is like directing some water through a thin glass, like it would start to boil at about 2 minutes, and didn't even seem like it was close to that.
You have to realize that all the other things around that were also on fire. So it was a competition to see what would break. What, would the water boil or would the thing holding the beaker break first?
Sure. But I would say that's more baffling, like, like more like Mythbusters. I wouldn't have thought that,
Yeah.
Not cringy.
Max, you have one?
Nothing.
Okay. Let's go to drinking rules. We got some drinking rules here. I think the obvious one here is anytime Tim Allen says anything hyper masculine, take a couple drinks. I think that Rob, you got one?
An addendum to that is just Tim Allen makes a joke about how Richard Karn is too California. There were more than one things like that. There's like, oh, he's got his vegetarian chili for you.
Isn't that a hyper masculine joke?
I know, that's why it's related. It's in the same ballpark, but it's like a specific version of that.
Noah, you got a drinking rule for us?
Every time they talk about a tool that you don't know existed, take a drink.
Max, you got a drinking rule?
Every time one of the contestants does something cool and you're like, hey, that's cool, take a drink.
I think depending how drunk you want to get, but like just a drink every time they do one of their terrible interstitials could be good. You would be drinking a bit, but it's up to you.
I was thinking similar line of like drink every time they awkwardly bring in April for something like
That's good. Let's get into one of our favorite questions: production schedule.
So I want to throw something out there. I get thoughts. Did all the shots of them talking on Zoom, the contestants, was that filmed months before Tim Allen, Richard Karn filmed anything, and they were talking to producers, and they just
100%.
replayed the
100%.
video, and Tim Allen and Richard Karn just pretending to talk to these people?
100%.
Yes.
Like there's not even a doubt in my mind
There's not even
that
that.
they didn't talk. The contestants did not talk to Tim Allen, Richard Karn until they announced the winner.
Even if they announced the winner, was that also fake?
No, because the contestant talked about how it was awesome to actually talk to Tim Allen and Richard
Did
Karn.
the producers make them say that?
It's possible, but I don't think so because they actually had the finished products. So it would be fine for them to like, since they're filming this segment, they could film the Zoom segment too. Like,
Got it.
That's fine. You already have the whole setup, right? So like,
Yeah. So we should walk through. So like the first challenge is over Zoom, and the people are in their own home things making the blowtorches, and they seem like they're talking, but like we don't know who they're talking to. Then the two people build their barbecues. Then all of a sudden it cuts to Tim Allen, Richard Gardner outside with the two barbecues, but the other people aren't there. And it's just Tim Allen and Richard Gardner doing stuff with them. And then they're back inside talking on Zoom to these people. And yeah, so it's like the whole first challenge and the whole 5-day build and stuff was totally done with just producers. And then, so how many, like they had 5 days to do the build. So like they're filming for 5 days. How many days do you think it took Tim Allen and Richard Gardner to bust out like the 12 shows, whatever they're doing now? Like in 2 days, do you think they busted them all out?
oh yeah, I don't think they're there for more than a week. There's no
A week? Oh, it's not even close to a week.
2 days. Well, depends like the weather or something. Like if it's rainy out, they can't film. Like the
It's
outside.
LA. It's never rainy out. That's what they tell me.
I think that like the show was produced during COVID. It seems pretty clear, COVID produced show, and like I think that they have like how many film crews can you really have doing this? So like, do you get a Georgia local film crew to go around and like film like because each contestant had at least like somebody filming them and some sort of producer with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like in terms of like Tim Allen and Richard Gardner, we know that's filmed in 2 or 3 days or whatever, where they do all these interstitials and like overcut all this stuff. But how long do they take to film all the other segments? Like, are they can't all be done at once. You film like one a week. So it takes what, like 12 weeks to do them all? Like,
yeah, they definitely, the way they went about shooting this, they're not going for like cost efficiencies, right? Because they got to send or hire like producers, boom people, cameramen in all these locations and shoot over these multiple days. They are definitely putting their money out there to try to do something.
so yeah, but yeah, 100% not talking to Tim Allen until the very end. And then even then, you're right. It could be questionable. You could say, hey, you won. Can you say that Tim Allen talking to you was like a highlight of your life or something? For the show.
Tim Allen talked to me.
That would be next level terrible.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Would this show be better as a Quibi? Noah, your favorite question. What's your answer?
I'm gonna go. I think you can quibify this. Like the show didn't feel slow, right? So that's why I'm a little hesitant. But I think you could probably chop this up a bit more and put together a decent quib.
This question means that there's no part 1, part 2 Quibbies here. There's just one Quibi. You can't be like, well, we took this 40-minute show, so we'll split it into thirds and then make that a quit. Like, no, that's not the spirit of the question.
That's what Noah would do, though.
Yeah. So I think if you make this a Quibi, you can't have 2 challenges. You have 1 challenge, right?
Yeah, I think personally, what you do, the 90-minute challenge, that's a Quibi. Each episode's that 90-minute challenge, and you get a winner. That's your Quibi.
Yeah.
There you go.
Would it be better, Chris?
I think so, because I think less screen time for Tim Allen, the better.
But he'd get that upfront Quibi money. Everyone got paid.
He's getting paid now. What do you want?
I didn't get paid, Noah. What do you mean? Not everyone got paid.
This is the History Channel. He ain't getting paid.
Your conjecture is that Quibi paid more than History Channel.
100%. When Quibi was getting started, they were tossing out money to get people to produce content out the gate. History Channel, I'm shocked.
You think that Tim Allen's getting off his butt for nothing?
I don't know why
For
he's
this
doing this.
reality show?
There's a little minutia that I forgot to mention that it's placed in it is I like that the Chiron, they had to put a Chiron saying this is Tim Allen, and it says from Last Man Standing underneath. So there's a little plug for his other show that he got in the show. And then
Well,
I don't remember even seeing a Richard Karn Chiron, so maybe I just missed it. But I like to imagine that he didn't even get a Chiron, and Tim Allen's like, I get a Chiron. It's got to talk about Last Man Standing. That's part of why I'm doing this show to pump out Last Man Standing. He gets no Chiron. Don't give it to him.
but this show's ending. So like this is his last season of Last Man Standing.
Right.
Again.
So he's gonna raise his price for season 2 of Assembly Required. It's like, you don't want me back. You gotta pay the bills.
Get him off
Yeah.
the show.
To be clear, it is very unclear why Tim Allen is doing this. Like, he is very rich. This has very low potential to make any money, I think, or squeak out a profit. Like, he just must seem to enjoy this.
Maybe his buddy Richard Karn called him and was like, hey, can you be on this reality show with me? It sounds pretty fun. It'll take 2 days. Like, come on.
Maybe.
That's the thing.
Like,
someone
you know-
like if they can bust this out in 2 or 3 days, or just like, why not? And I do wonder if he just like, it feels like it's in his like the thing he likes, but like it feels like a manly, people are making stuff kind of show. He just kind of gets a kick out of doing it.
He's very rich. Like,
He is
he's about
very
100
rich.
About $100 million, right? Like,
He is Buzz Lightyear. Let's not forget this.
right, exactly. Like, he
Well-
got the cash coming in.
Yeah, but so for some reason, people with that much money, they still seem to want more. This is like
It's not about the money for him now. It's about the fame. He just wants his face out
This-
there.
this seems like a persona like thing for him. Like he's trying to put his hyper masculine persona back out there on like
I
other
don't know.
channels.
It's the History Channel. Like, if he's trying to get his face out there, you don't go into History Channel.
History Channel is good stuff. We like History Channel's reality shows.
We do.
I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm just saying the distribution. Like,
Yeah, but that could be his demo. You think that he doesn't have people that looks at the demos and is like looking at where he's trying to go and like does all that stuff? No, you're just some schmuck that has no idea.
we're all just some schmuck. And
Yeah,
I'm not
I don't
above
mean to
that.
disparage you. No, we're all schmucks. We're all just making this all up.
Yeah.
Like we're just conjecturing here. But like they're actually planning something for him and his direction and where he wants to go. So like it could just fit into that pipeline. I don't know.
I'm gonna do a lot of digging after the show. I'm very curious.
We need a follow up next week on
Yeah, 'cause it's the follow-up,
Allen
Noah.
digging. Tim Allen digging.
I'm gonna see if
It's
I
a
can
good-
find out what it. Yeah.
Is this a good time to mention there were parts of the show where I was like, is Tim Allen drunk right now?
I didn't get that sense actually.
It felt like the way he was speaking was just, he seemed like he was kind of confused and didn't know what was going on. But
Yeah, I think that's just because this whole thing, like, imagine filming this, Rob. You're like, okay, we're going to show you this segment. You just make comments. Here's some writer comments. Make those too. And like, it's just like so forced. And you could so tell it's forced that like, you're just going to be confused because you're just doing this for like 8-12 hours. By the time you're on like whatever hour, you're just like, what is it? Like, it's just going to be a rough day. I could see you seemingly drunk when you're not drunk at all.
Ooh.
Mm.
All
Hey,
right.
everybody,
So
Jet Jurgens,
there is a kid, who is an actor on Last Man Standing. You can chat with him for $3 on Cameo. Maybe through the kid, we can get some dirt on Tim Allen.
Yeah,
Do it, Noah.
You get right on that.
report
Jet
back to us next
Jurgens-
week.
Jet
Don't do it
Jurgens-
while we're on the podcast.
No. Man, I think his real name Jet Jurgensmeyer.
No, it's Jet Jurgensmeyer Dick.
Thank you, Chris.
Let's get into the shows that inspired the show. What are the parents? Which we all know is Forged in Fire is like, and like making it are kind of, this is a Forged in Fire like 1-to-1 right here.
There's some strong Forge and Fire vibes of getting people who have their home setups to do certain things, and they go through some testing. It's really missing the it can kill guy. It needs the guy like really they should have April do this to just come in and be like, I need to put this thing you built through its paces and really like judge if this is doing the job or not, which was really missing.
I mean, to Max's point earlier, is like the criteria, like you go on Forge of Fire, they're like, okay, well, these is the criteria. This is what we're going to do to your knife. This is what's going to happen. And it's fun to see. Whereas like you're making this grill, this movable grill, and here's what we needed to do. That wasn't there. And we didn't get to see them do really anything with it. That was very anticlimactic. So they didn't take enough from Forge and Fire, to be honest. But yeah, it's also missing like the in-person kind of stuff. I think it would be a little bit different if like both the contestants were there with their grills.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they would have done more of that. I don't know. But there's potential there. Let's get into our final question. We do what's the rating? So we do a stack ranking system where we do top, middle, bottom, third compared to other reality shows. And some people do rankings in their rankings. Rob, what do you got for me?
I'm putting the show in the middle. I like parts of it. It was kind of interesting to see them build the things. It's too long. There's too much filler. Like another thing compared to Fortune Fire has 3 challenges. They like they get rid of 2 people and then have the one big challenge between the 2. So like if you cut 10 minutes of fat out of the show, I think it's a much stronger show. If I didn't hate the Tim Allen shtick. If you put on the filter of this is just shtick and I'm just like doing some 90s nostalgia but Home Improvement, I would definitely be into it. It actually is kind of hard to do that given that that's not true, but I think it's a solid show and I'd be kind of intrigued to watch a little bit more, but there's a lot of things that we could do to make it better, so it can't go in the top.
Noah, what do you got for me?
I think this is a solid middle show as well. I do think the format's quite good. We like Forge and Fire a lot. This is Forge and Fire, just not knives. It's build a bunch of different shit. So that's cool. The color commentary, despite being Tim Allen, who is funny, is just pretty flat.
I need a citation for that.
You should watch some of his stand-up from like the 70s and 80s. It's quite good. It just falls flat. And so I think if they had some better color commentary and potentially gave April more airtime to talk about like how they're building some of the things and the choices they can make, this show can easily be a top. So I think if they make those changes, we're going to see this come in the top, but they're probably not. And this is decent for one season.
Max, what do you got for me?
Also throwing it in the middle, a top of the middle. I thought it moved. I don't like the hosts, but the challenges were good. The stuff they built was cool. I overall thought it was fine to good.
Yeah, I'm also going to put it in the middle, but like it's a depressing middle because I think the show could be amazing. I think this show could be like top of the top. Like it could be it could be Mythbusters level, like just in terms of like showing people make cool shit. And then you throw fucking 20 minutes of Tim Allen, like fucking talking about fucking garbage. Get it out of there. It's terrible. It's almost bottom third for that. Like I'd watch this and just fast forward to all Tim Allen stuff. Like just watch the like making the challenges and like see who wins, which I might do. Like, and that you get in the middle for that. So that's where it stands. That's it for our discussion. Rob, you have a shout out this week.
I don't want your shout out this week. I finished The Queen's Gambit, so I'm really on top of stuff that was popular 5 months ago. It's a good show. I watched partly on Chris's recommendation. I watched episode 1 of Lupin on stick with the Netflix show. So we'll see where that goes. But
are you watching the dub or the sub?
I watched it dubbed. I suggested to Emmy, hey, maybe we should switch and turn on the subtitles, and got a sort of shake of the head. So we're watching it dubbed.
Okay, it was just Just curious.
I mean, judge me for it. Part of me was like, I should watch it with the subtitles and do it legit.
I think it's better with the subtitles on, but like if the choice are you're not going to watch it if you put the subtitles on, then obviously that's a better choice. But I think that, the nuances in the original acting are better than the nuances in a dub, personally. So like if you're watching something animated, then like I do whatever you want, like, because I think that as long as people paid money in the animated one, I think it works out fine. But live action, I think it's better. Noah, what about you? Have a shout out this week?
Another tip of the hat to the podcast. Started WandaVision, again a bit behind it as well. So far entertaining. I'm excited to watch more of it.
Max, what do you got for me?
Haven't been watching a whole heck of a lot lately.
All right. I'll give a shout out to, I'm still continuing my Lost rewatch. I'm following a podcast. Let me pull that up quick. It's the Storm. I'm on season 5, episode 11. So it's like one a week. I think it's the best way to watch Lost. Binging Lost is, I think,
one a week.
Yeah, I watch one a week.
Are you allowed to call it binging?
I said I'm not binging. I'm watching one a week.
Got it.
I think it's the best way to watch Lost. Let it ruminate. I think that it is
each week a new one.
Each week a new one. Let's see. Anything else I want to shout out? I think that's it. I've been like reading Stephen King and I've been reading comics and stuff. So it's like I have been not really watching too much stuff either. Although I did just watch what was that?
Kane.
Citizen Kane on Monday. It's a pretty solid movie. I think that like I'd recommend if you've never seen. I think that it's hard to tell when you're watching it that a lot of the stuff that they did was like it's a pretty new 1941, but I think it still kind of works out even today.
Good movie.
I'll give a bonus shout out to Pinky and the Brain, which I never watched the Pinky and the Brain standalone show. I only watched Animaniacs, but my daughter, for whatever reason, is now obsessed with Pinky and the Brain. So we're watching the old episodes, and it's a fun show.
I mean, that's a great thing to get obsessed with as a kid.
So
one's a genius.
For over a week, I have been told every day, so you're Pinky, and I'm the Brain. So I am Pinky.
But Pinky's the actual smart one.
Questionable.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah.
I saw some theory about that, but I haven't like actually watched anything, and since I was a kid. So
I mean, the real thing is just like they're like the show says one is a genius, the other's insane. They're both insane. Like there's no smart one.
that's fair.
What do you do tonight, Pinky?
Same thing we do every night, Noah.
Odd.
All right. Well, you can find us on Twitter at Who Put This On, Facebook.com/Who Put This On. You can email us questions and suggestions at whoputthison@gmail.com. And I'll see you guys next time.
Chris, how do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
I had a couple beers. And
Did you color them green?
No, I don't have green food dye. It's poison. Food dye, poison.
I do like
Gives you
Paquito
the
O'Malley's.
give you the cancer.
I thought that was vaccines.
No, that's how Bill Gates tracks you.
Oh.
Come on. You don't just willingly carry on a tracking device. We need to inject it into your fucking veins.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
Why not?
It's just the stupidest thing.
Were the mics hot for that, Chris? That
Yeah.
could go in the outro.